Hi, everyone, and welcome to my podcast, That's Life, I Swear. I'm your host, Rick Barron. Imagine a hurricane forming in the Gulf of Mexico. Gulf of America. It's a Category 2. Manageable, forecasters say. Evacuation orders go out for the usual zones. But somewhere beneath the surface, in waters nobody is watching anymore, the ocean is running a fever. And by the time that storm makes landfall, it's a Category 5. The warnings came too late. They always do when you've gone blind. This is a story how the Trump administration's dismantling of America's ocean monitoring network leaves the nation dangerously exposed to hurricanes, climate tipping points, and an increasingly unpredictable sea. Welcome to That's Life, I Swear. This podcast is about life's happenings in this world that conjure up such words as intriguing, frightening, life-changing, inspiring, and more. I'm Rick Barron, your host. That said, here's the rest of this story. So let's see, for about a decade, a constellation of instruments lay anchored in the darkness of the ocean floor. Some as deep as 2,800 meters, that's about 1.7 miles, continuously measuring temperature, chemical composition, currents, and biological conditions. The Ocean Observations Initiative, or OOI, launched in 2016 and funded by the National Science Foundation, or NSF, was described by its own lead scientists as the world's most advanced, continuously operating ocean observing systems. It was designed to run for 30 years. It will now be dead at 10. On May 21st, 2026, the NSF announced it would begin removing more than 900 deep-sea instruments deployed across Oregon, Washington State, Alaska, North Carolina, and the Irminger Sea, the stretch of frigid Atlantic water between Greenland and Iceland. 4 of the 5 operating instrument groups will be dismantled. Removal operations at the Coastal Endurance Group off the Pacific Northwest have already begun and are expected to take approximately 15 months to complete. So that means completion by approximately October of 2027. Now, the network cost about $368 million to build and install. Its annual operating cost was roughly $50 million, the figure the NSF cited as justification for shutting it down. Now, for some context, that is less than the cost of procuring a single F-35 fighter jet. Now, the shutdown did not emerge from a neutral scientific review. Far from it. It follows a roadmap drawn by the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, a 900-page policy blueprint explicitly designed to guide the Trump administration. In its pages, the OOI was identified as, and I quote, the source of much of NOAA's climate alarmism, and its authors recommended that the preponderance of its climate change research should be disbanded. The administration had attempted to cut the OOI's budget by 80% in both 2025 and 2026, and on both occasions, Congress restored the funding. Imagine that. Unable to kill the network through the budget process, the NSF, whose board members were entirely replaced by the Trump administration in April of 2026, moved ahead with a decommissioning regardless. The agency had by then lost an estimated 40% of its workforce through administration cuts. Now, to justify the move, the NSF cited a 2025 National Academies of Science report. Critically, that report suggested the network, and I quote, would benefit from a revisioning and restructuring exercise, end quote. Now, nowhere did it say to dismantle it. The OOI shutdown is one of several concurrent actions stripping America's ability to observe and forecast environmental threats. The National Center for Atmospheric Research, which gathered data on hurricanes and extreme weather to improve forecasts, was also shut down. The EPA repealed the endangerment finding that underpinned decades of environmental regulations. Now, NASA issued a statement on record-breaking 2024 and 2025 temperatures, without referencing climate change. NOAA lost approximately 800 probationary staff and hundreds more through buyouts, including key hurricane research scientists. Now let's talk about hurricane forecasting along with the most immediate danger here. Ocean temperature is the fuel of hurricanes. Now what do I mean by that? The warmer and deeper the warm water, the more a hurricane can intensify. Without continuous deep ocean monitoring, forecasters lose critical data about sea surface temperatures, subsurface heat content, and the oceanic conditions that govern whether a Category 2 becomes a Category 5 before landfall. Now, the danger is already real. NOAA, or National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's budget, was cut by approximately 27% under Trump's fiscal 2026 proposals. The administration targeted the Atlantic Oceanographic and Meteorologist Laboratory in Miami, home to NOAA's Hurricane Research Division, and the team that built the HAFS, Hurricane Analysis and Forecast System, the nation's flagship hurricane prediction model. Now, experts testified that eliminating the AOML would result in a 20% to 40% loss of hurricane forecast accuracy. Now, last year, retired NOAA scientists volunteered to staff hurricane hunter reconnaissance flights just to keep them operational. Losing these climate monitoring systems raises a list of concerns. I'll just give you a few of these. Due to staffing cuts, many weather stations have reduced weather balloon launches. These upper atmospheric readings feed the same models used to forecast storm tracks and intensity. Another one, FEMA. The administration drafted plans to cut FEMA's workforce by more than 50%. And as of March of 2026, Democratic lead states were 3 times less likely to receive disaster aid approvals, politicizing the disaster response pipeline. Now here's a number to roll on your head. Over 60 million Americans, nearly 1/3 of the United States population, live in coastal counties vulnerable to hurricanes. An estimated $5.5 trillion in infrastructure is exposed to serious flooding. Degraded forecasting does not merely mean less accurate weather apps. It means less time to evacuate, less certainty about where a storm will strike, and more importantly, people dying needlessly. Now, perhaps the most alarming consequence of the OOI shutdown concerns a system most Americans have never heard of. It's called the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. This vast network of ocean currents functions as a conveyor belt, if you will, distributing heat around the planet and regulating climate across North America, Europe, and Africa. The OOI's Irminger Sea moorings, fixed 2,800 meters below the surface between Greenland and Iceland, were the world's most sophisticated instruments for tracking AMOC. So the definition of a mooring is any permanent structure to which a seaborne vessel, such as a boat, a ship, or amphibious aircraft, may be secured. Now, a growing body of scientific research suggests that the AMOC is destabilizing and could collapse potentially within this century. Now, if it does, the consequences would be catastrophic. It would mean accelerated sea level rise along the U.S. East Coast, a severe winter deep freeze across Europe, and a prolonged drought across a wide stretch of the sub-Saharan Africa. Now, without the Irminger Sea group, scientists would lose their most precise early warning system for detecting the AMOC's trajectory. The moment those sensors go dark, humanity loses a critical instrument in the dashboard, monitoring one of Earth's most consequential and fragile systems, which at the very moment may be approaching a tipping point. The damage cascades far beyond storm forecasting and climate research. The OOI system was also integral to understanding marine ecosystems. Scientists use it to track marine heat waves, which can devastate commercial fisheries, and to understand how ocean chemistry changes as it absorbs atmospheric greenhouse gases. Now, these are not abstract academic concerns. American fishing industries worth billions of dollars depend on accurate, data-driven fishery management. The network also contributed to earthquake monitoring. Sensors positioned on the floor provided data to help detect seismic activity in regions where events can generate tsunamis threatening the U.S. Pacific coast. Now, that monitoring capability is now ending. The OOIC was not only an American scientific asset. Data from the network was shared globally and used by researchers in dozens of countries. Former NOAA chief scientist Craig McLean warned that dismantling the system would push the United States back yet again into a rear seat in global scientific leadership. Now, for decades, the U.S. has been the anchor of global ocean observation infrastructure. That role is now being voluntarily surrendered. Now, other nations cannot readily fill the gap. The specific geographical placements of the arrays, particularly the Reminger Sea Station, were chosen for their unique scientific value. Now, replicating them would take years of planning, getting permits, and hundreds of millions of dollars in new investment. The institutional knowledge accumulated by American oceanographers, technicians, and professional mariners who installed and maintained this network over a decade cannot simply be transplanted elsewhere. Now, the NSF and administration have cited cost savings as the rationale for all this. The OOI costs approximately $50 million per year to operate. That figure sounds large in isolation. Placed in context, it is a rounding error in the federal budget, less than 0.1% of NOAA's total budget, and a fraction of what a single hurricane disaster costs American taxpayers. Now, additionally, the $50 million annual budget for the observation network is small compared with the value of the data it collects for understanding the oceans and the climate. Now, Hurricane Helene in 2024, for comparison, caused over $50 billion in damage and killed at least 250 people across 6 states. Now, if degraded ocean monitoring contributes to even one horrendous forecast major hurricane per decade, a single missed rapid intensification event, a misplaced track, an evacuation ordered 12 hours too late, the human and economic cost would dwarf the cumulative savings from killing the OOI. Oceanic Senior Campaign Director Gib Brogan stated, "This reckless dismantling of these tools is irresponsible and is going to undermine our ability to predict and prepare for what's coming in the near future and in the long term." There has been no public analysis from the administration calculating the return on investment of decommissioning the network against the risk it mitigated. Now, what makes the OOI shutdown so alarming is not just what it eliminates, but when. The global oceans are in a period of historically abnormal change. Temperatures have been off the charts in multiple regions. Marine heat waves are fueling more intense hurricanes, driving sea level rises and causing mass coral bleaching. Scientists believe a critical Atlantic current system may be approaching a tipping point. An El Niño of potential severity is now developing in the Pacific, and the United States has chosen this precise moment to pull nearly 1,000 of its most sensitive ocean instruments out of the water. Absorb that thought for a moment, if you will. This is not a minor budgetary adjustment. It is the deliberate destruction of irreplaceable scientific infrastructure. Infrastructure that took a decade to build, costs less than a single fighter jet per year to operate, and protects millions of people from storms that may otherwise not see coming. The data streams that go dark as each group is removed will not come back. The continuity of record will be broken. The long-term data sets that allow scientists to detect trends, calibrate models, and predict catastrophes will have gaps that no archive can fill. The question that remains unanswered and unasked by those making this decision is the one posed by oceanographers watching the removal ships head out to sea when the next major hurricane forms in abnormal warm Atlantic waters and rapidly intensifies before a coastline has fully evacuated. Will anyone in authority acknowledge what tools they chose to throw overboard? What can we learn from this story? What's the takeaway? The irony with the stated justification was fiscal responsibility, saving $50 million a year. Hurricane Helene alone caused $50 billion in damage. The math of saving money by reducing preparedness doesn't survive scrutiny, and this story illustrates that tension in concrete human terms. I mean, think about this, will you? You can't solve a problem you refuse to measure. Dismantling monitoring systems doesn't make the underlying risk disappear. No, it just ensures you won't see them until it's too late. That principle extends well beyond ocean science. It applies to disease surveillance, financial regulation, food safety, air quality. This is a story about what happens when a society chooses not to know. Well, there you go, my friends. That's life, I swear. For further information regarding the material covered in this episode, I invite you to visit my website, which can be found on Apple Podcasts, for show notes and the episode transcript. As always, I thank you for the privilege of you listening and your interest. Be sure to subscribe here or wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. And we'll see you soon.